What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Off the Grid build. Today we're going to talk about pier and beam foundation. I'm still waiting for some supplies to show up, so I figured I'd hop on here and make a quick video. A lot of people ask, why would you do pier and beam over a slab? What's the benefits? What's the cons to doing a pier and beam? And pretty much just like why one or the other is the big question. And right off the bat, I think I would have to say the reason that I'm going with pier and beam is one, it's easier for me to do solo or with one other person. Two, it gives me more, it gives me the ability to plan less ahead, if that makes sense. So for example, I don't need to know where all my plumbing is going to go. I don't need to know where my kitchen goes. I can literally get a green light on the footprint of the house and I can build it. The only difference would be is if you're going to do a kitchen and an island with a heavy slab, then you might want to do some additional blocking in that specific location. But other than little things like that, which you can go ahead and throw in after if you want to, or you can just kind of double up in the presented locations, you know, where it might end up going. That's what I really love about it. You don't have to land your plumbing in a certain area. For example, if we were doing a slab and we're like, hey, we want the guest bath to be in the far back corner of the house, and then after you pour the slab, once you get the walls framed up, you're like, I don't like the way this feels, this doesn't feel right. You can't just move your bathroom. It's there. It's going to be there for forever, unless you do some crazy jacking. And if you have you know, a tension slab, then it's a nightmare. There's not much room for moving things around. If you already know where everything's going to go and you're confident, then slabs are amazing. Another pro about pier and beam is that you have the ability to repair if needed. If you have any leaks, if there's any issues under your house, you have the ability to adjust that. If there were to be something that happened and your pier and beam foundation were to get unlevel, you can go under there and you can fix it for fairly inexpensive. So that's a nice way about pier and beam. Another awesome thing that I like about pier and beam is the fact that you potentially can add, you know, additions to it a lot easier. So for example, we already have the main portion of this house and we're actually adding right now a 20 by 20 master suite onto the side of this house. And all I have to do is attach, you know, some joists to this, run it out, do a couple more footings, and I can now have an additional, you know, what, 400 square feet, just like that. I don't have to excavate an extensive amount of dirt and pour a slab and lay rebar and do all this different stuff. I literally am going to dig my footings, I'm going to pour my concrete footings, I'm going to put my piers on there, and then I'm going to run my beams across, and I have an additional 400 square feet just like that, because we changed our minds, you know, halfway through building the foundation. That's another thing that I love about pier and beam. The cons to pier and beam, well, actually, there's one more pro to pier and beam, is that it's actually easier on your feet. So nowadays we all live on concrete floors, concrete offices, concrete everything. Concrete's not good for you. It has no give. It has no absorption of your weight when you walk. Pier and beam, even though we are on 2x10s with, you know, 3/4 decking, it has give. So when you walk, you're not hitting a solid surface that doesn't give. All pier and beams will give a little bit. To me, I like it because I hate, if I stand on concrete, I used to work at a grocery store. If I stood at concrete for more than, you know, 4 to 6 hours, I was dying. My heels, my, you know, plantar fasciitis starts kicking in, all these different things. So for me as an ex-athlete, I really do like the fact that I have a floor that has some bit of give to it. Another bonus is if you're going to be doing nailed down flooring, if you're going to be doing anything like that, it just gives you more options overall. Now the cons to it is you are probably more susceptible to an uneven foundation as time goes on, depending on how you do your footings. For example, we did a really, I don't want to say cheap as in not good, but we did the inexpensive version of the footings, which is just piers dug down anywhere from 4 to 6 feet into the ground with a footing at the bottom. You pour the concrete into a sauna tube. We poured them up to grade so that we didn't have to have any columns coming up. We actually used the concrete as columns. Then you lay your beams across there and you start framing your floor. It's that simple. You do have to go back under there once everything's done and put a vapor barrier down, and then you have to, you know, run your insulation through your floor joists. But it does give you a really good insulated floor, which is awesome, because with these 2x10s, I can get an easily an R35 rating insulation in my floor, which is super exciting, because then I can continue that up to my walls and get a really solid envelope on my build. So I personally see more pros to pier and beam than cons, but like I said, you might have some sagging that happens, but it's also an easy fix if that happens. Another con is you do have the potential for rot, But the more I've researched it, the less likely you are to actually have rot in a pier and beam than you necessarily would with a slab on grade with 2x4s touching that slab, because then you have, if dirt gets up over where your sill plate is, you have that dirt contact with your walls, with your studs, that can climb up, that leads to termites. Pier and beam, I don't want to say is more susceptible to termites. I think it's less susceptible to termites than a slab, but it is susceptible to termites because you do have wood exposed to the ground at the bottom of your foundation. But if you do your vapor barrier correctly, if you make sure your wood is done, I'm not sure the distance between the wood and the ground in your area, but there's a distance between the wood and the ground that you need to keep your lumber away from, so that you don't have to worry about insects and stuff like that. But if you treat the under part of your pier and beam foundation properly, with the proper ventilation, with the proper vapor barrier, with the proper construction information, you're going to have an amazing home on a pier and beam foundation, as well as you will always have the ability to expand, to change, to remodel, and it will be fairly inexpensive to do so. Other than that, that's kind of the main reasons why I chose a pier and beam. It's an amazing form of building. It's kind of one of the older, if not oldest, forms of foundation building that we still do to this day. I'm trying to think of anything else. I mean, if you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments below. I think I covered everything. I mean, there are more cons, such as like you can't do crazy tile. You have to check your deflection rating on your subfloor if you want to add tile, if you want to add stone, stuff like that. On a slab, you can just go ahead and throw your stone on your slab. On a pier and beam, you have to check what your deflection is. You got to see how much load you can actually put on these floor joists. That would be the same as if you had a slab house but you had a second story. You'd have to do the same thing because it's technically a pier and beam for your second floor, if you will, with your floor joists. But overall, there are some other things where you just need to be more careful with a pier and beam, just checking your deflection, your weight, and all the engineering aspects of that. But hopefully you'll have an engineer take care of that for you. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments below. I'm rambling now. I hope this helps somebody, and we are getting back on track with the off-the-grid build. Hopefully here we'll have some videos for you guys in the next week or so. We have our subfloor coming. We have our wall sheathing coming. We got our ridge beams coming. We got a lot of stuff coming. But I appreciate you guys. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one.